Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it.
This.
Yeah, we'll have fun, eh, Bruce?
Oh, exactly. We will. Don't we always have fun?
We always have fun. I just realized something.
What's that?
This is the very first podcast we've done since the last podcast we did.
Are you sure?
Let me check my notes. Let me riffle through the extensive filing system we have.
The recording logbook.
Yeah, the recording logbook. Yeah, I'll riffle through the recording logbook because, of course, here at the Old AML Network, we keep copious notes and records.
Oh, obviously, we have so much paperwork going; it's unbelievable.
So, anyways, tonight, have we ever interviewed a guy that laughs a lot?
Not since the ill-fated Chuckles the Clown episode.
Yeah. I believe Chuckles is in the studio now.
Yeah. And we know how well that one went.
Yeah, that was too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was certainly after. I wish I had something funny to say here.
Yeah.
Well, I do know what I want to say. A little song, a little dance.
A little salsa in your pants.
We should do a show where it's just Mary Tyler Moore scenes.
There you go. I don't like Perky or whatever.
No,
Spunky.
No, yeah, you got spunk. I've said that to Barb many times.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, Barb. What the hell was that? It looks like somebody's starting to shell the studio. 30 caliber shells are coming in.
Oh.
All right. So, okay.
So it is the first one since the last one, by the way.
Yeah.
I did check my notes.
Attaboy. Okay. So now tonight we're going to interview a fella. This is actually, you know what? I just realized what the problem is.
Yes.
I just realized what the problem is. This was suggested to us by our very own Scott Thornton.
Oh, well.
Scott sent me an email and said, we got to talk to this guy because he's really interesting.
Was Scott sending us the ProtoThrottle as endorsement?
Scott Thornton, who sells the ProtoThrottle, a lovely manufactured, a lovely unit. It's a lovely control unit. I can't speak tonight.
No.
It's a lovely control unit manufactured by Michael Peterson and Nathan Holmes, I believe, out there in Iowa Scaled Engineering. And then Scott showed up one day and said, hey, can you guys make me this? The ProtoThrottle was kind of his idea. And between the three of them, now they have this ProtoThrottle. And I could tell you the story about the first time I met Scott, but we've heard that 1,000 times. And yes, they've sold well over 100 and are on their way to 500.
Perfect.
Yeah. I can tell you, though, as a little aside, Scott said he was going to send me a couple of T-shirts, but he keeps losing my address.
Huh? How convenient?
Yeah, conveniently losing my address.
Conveniently losing your address, eh? Yeah. That's kind of like the checks in the mail, right?
Yeah, exactly. So everybody go out there and buy your ProtoThrottle because they are very, very cool.
They are cool.
We need now we need Joe Cummings here to go ProtoThrottle, your finest item to purchase.
Yeah, we'll get Joe to do something later.
Yeah. Boy, this
guest of the AML use Iowa Skilled Engineering ProtoThrottle, the finest in control today.
Yeah, this is one of those shows where I already think, oh my God, this is a disaster.
Yeah, well, we may pull her out deep in the bottom of the ninth with a homer over the center field wall. So
let's get So we're going to interview a fellow named J.T. Burke, who owns a company called Scale Sound Systems. And Scott Thornton highly recommended that we interview him, so he's here now. So JT, pull up a chair, sit on the couch there, but be careful at one end of the couch, somebody McGurked on it.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so don't sit there.
Something a little funny.
You're kind of pacing around a lot. Are you? You're kind of like, you seem like kind of a nervous guy.
It helps me think.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
So do you know Scott Thornton?
I don't know him face to face. Jason Clocky, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Clocky. He's got the amazing CGW layout.
I don't know of that, so you're going to have to fill us in on that.
Ah, well, he's been in the press. He's been in MRH and other magazines and that kind of thing. Just really beautiful layout. And he bought some of my speakers and put them in his locomotives, and was just loving them. And Scott was at his an operating session at his layout, and was like, "What is the deal with the sound of these engines?" And Jason told Scott about my speakers. Scott contacted me, said, "I've got a few locomotives that I want sound put in." And so I did that for Scott, and so we have just kind of, Scott and I, we tend to have a lot of similarities and a lot in common. So we've had a lot of 3-hour phone conversations, and just it's kind of gone from there.
Yeah, that's not something you necessarily want to put on a resume, that you and Scott have a lot of similarities. I love Scott. Scott is a great guy. He's got a great personality and a great sense of humor, and he's a fun guy to have around. Although he did crash our dinner in Kansas City.
Well,
and didn't pay. So who's Jason? How do you spell his last name?
Boy, I think it's Klocke.
Indeed, it is.
Oh, you found it?
I did. I'm just going to send you a link here.
Oh, you're going to send me a link? Not in the chat, though, on Facebook Messenger or some other way.
No.
Attaboy.
Yep.
Yeah, his layout is. I mean, I read about this guy's layout, a couple years ago at least, and I remember thinking, boy, just his scene composition and the way he does his scenery and just everything. I mean, from the roads and the track profiles and everything, I just thought he really just did a beautiful job on his layout. And then, last year at some point in time, he came up in my orders, and he said, "Hey, I just ordered some speakers. You can check out my layout." And I was like, "I already know who you are, man," because like I was already impressed by his layout. So that was pretty cool. That.
And how did you find? And so okay, so you operated on, or you haven't operated, but Jason Clocky found you.
Yes.
Clocky, I would say Klocke.
Boy, I feel really bad that I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he and I have never spoken. It's only via email. So
well, I don't know how to pronounce JT. So
well, you're doing a fair enough job. At least you didn't say Burke.
Oh yeah. Well, that's but that's a whole different guy. Yeah, I wouldn't have said Burke, actually. So let's introduce Bruce. I think we should introduce our guest formally, don't you think?
Might be a start.
Yeah, we are talking with JT Burke, who has, I think I've already said this, we're talking with JT Burke of Scale Sound Systems. And where are you located exactly?
Marion, Ohio.
Marion, Ohio, which is near...
It is about 45 miles directly north of Columbus. And to the railroad community, it is kind of a crossroads. The Erie/EL Railroad had their western division point was in Marion, and they intersected the Pennsy and the C&O, and they had shared trackage east and west with the New York Central. So Marion has just rooted in insane amounts of railroad history and importance.
Right. And so, do you mind if I ask you how old of a gentleman you are?
39.
Okay, so you're not really supposed to be in the hobby yet. You do realize that, right?
I mean, I came out of the womb grasping a piece of track or something. So
there you go. So, okay, so you've been, I see that, Bruce. That's another thing we could, like all these people that we talk to under the age of 40, they're no different than the guys that are in their late 50s and 60s and 70s. Every model railroader is the same. You're a model railroader almost right out of the box.
Well, yeah, there was nothing. Yeah. There was nothing that influenced me. I just, for whatever reason, was infatuated with the seeing the trains, at the grade crossings when I was in the back seat of the family wagon, and as a young kid. And then I found out that my dad had this post-war Lionel train set stuck in a box that he got when he was a boy. And I discovered that when I was, 4 or 5. He never told me about it. And it exploded from there.
So you were born around 1980, and you've been in the hobby since you were right out of the box.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's I'm telling you, Bruce, we don't need to worry about the hobby dying. I'm using air quotes now.
Yes.
Okay. So were you okay? So you got your dad's trained, your dad's Lionel set. You built that up. And did you have a time in there through like teenage years or early college where you kind of were more interested in girls and cars, or?
I mean, I've always had a love for cars. Not obsessively, not like trains. And
how about girls?
Yeah, I do have an obsessive love for the ladies, but that there's a separate compartment for that.
That's true.
I've not had now there was in my teens and early 20s, getting my career off the ground was really important to me. So, the love and the passion never went away.
Right. You were just doing other things. I think that's pretty common with everybody. The love
time at the bench. Yeah, I just didn't really have any time at the bench during a few of those years. But
time at the bench. That's an expression we haven't heard before, Bruce.
No, that's a good one.
But by the time I was 23, I was back at it hardcore. So it really wasn't too long of a period.
Okay, so trying to get your career going. What's your career?
I'm an audio engineer / musician, writer, record producer, that kind of thing. Everything with music and sound is, what I do for a living.
Oh yeah, cool. So are you in a band or anything?
No, I make bands sound good, or at least try.
Okay, and any bands that we may know of?
Well, I mean, yeah, I've toured with a lot of major artists.
Oh yeah. But you don't want to tell us.
Don't be shy.
I mean, it's nothing like big. I don't know. I'm not very good about. I struggle with talking about myself, honestly. So.
Well, that's okay. If you want to find out what it's like to talk about yourself, you can just listen to me for half an hour.
No, I worked for Barry Manilow for a few years. I toured with Beck, John Mellencamp, Iggy Pop and Josh Homme.
Yeah, I think,
wow.
Death Cab for Cutie. Like,
I think we're getting the picture.
Yeah, I worked with something that a lot of geeks like, which we are, the Mythbusters. I was their audio engineer for their live theatrical.
Oh, cool.
Tour. So, I've noticed that Jamie and Adam have got this obscene kind of, respect among the nerds. And I'm definitely a nerd. I'm not saying that in a negative way.
No, exactly. We're not saying that in a negative way. And actually, I've discovered since I started this podcast that the nerds are pretty darn cool. I already knew that, but this podcast has just reiterated it for me because I've met an awful lot of interesting people, let me tell you. I met this guy from Marion, Ohio that's a sound engineer. But he just constantly talks about himself.
Yeah, I heard he was pretty full of himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so is that your primary thing then? Is being an audio guy? Like, are you the guy that's got the big mixing board halfway back from the stage, and you're that guy? Yeah, that
guy, or the guy who has the mixing board on the side of the stage.
Okay, cool. So you must have to travel a lot then, do you?
I did, yeah. I toured pretty heavily. I mean, I've been off and on the road since my mid to late teens, but the last couple of years it was just getting a little much for me, and I wanted to slow it down. So I mainly focus on local local production, local concerts, and studio work now.
Okay. And do you have a studio, or do you just work in a studio?
Both, but I do have a small production facility of my own.
Oh, cool. So I could come in there, and if I wanted to lay down a couple of tracks, I could come and do that.
I do have quality control.
Oh, a smart guy, eh? Okay.
Where did our buddy go?
I don't know. Bruce has trouble. His internet's not working, and sometimes he leaves the studio because he doesn't want to participate, and he leaves the studio.
Well, I was getting worried being left alone in this room with you, so I'm glad.
Well, I thought we were doing pretty good.
I was getting nervous.
Bruce just stepped out to make a sandwich. Try to relax.
Yeah.
We're doing fine. We found out already. So we found out you like trains right from the get-go. You started with your dad's Lionel set that you found in a box. You did it all. You've been doing it. It's been a passion your entire life, and you're 39 years old now, and you got right back into it at 23. The next question I would like to ask, though, is, so you were doing the sound engineer thing in your late teens? Like, so somewhere in there you became fascinated with sound as well?
Yeah.
How did that work? Like, what was the sequence? Were you like playing the guitar first, and then you wanted to work on sound, or what was the sequence?
Yeah, I mean, music is the other thing that just kind of has always been with me. For as long as I can remember, I would lay down and listen to records on headphones with my dad and just fantasize about, playing, that music and the lights and it just from 3-4 years old, it's what I wanted to do, and it I learned a variety of instruments and it just snowballed. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's no, but it's cool. You sound like you're a pretty interesting young guy, and that's what this podcast is about. It's as much about the people as it is about model railroading. So I mean, people will be interested in this. The people will be interested in you, JT. What does JT stand for?
Oh, that's pretty personal question there.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm kidding. It's John Thomas.
Oh my God, I was actually going to say that.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, but there's no way to. Okay, so people call you JT, which is a cool name.
That's what I was raised with, that name. I never went by John. And,
right.
Well, I'm the third.
Ah, okay.
And my dad is the junior, but he never went by John either. From his birth, he was always known as Bud.
Bud.
And so, I mean, we're from Appalachia, is where the family's from. So we're, and so yeah, I always went by JT. And when I say that, the young kids these days say Justin Timberlake, and I have to correct them and say more like James Taylor, because he was the first.
So, but you grew up in Marion?
I did, yes.
Okay. Marion, Ohio, which isn't that far from Appalachia anyways.
It's reading, writing, and Route 23.
Reading, writing, and Route 23. You're wearing me out already. This is going to be fun.
Of course, Marion was home to the big steam shovel company.
We built the NASA crawlers here in Marion.
Yeah. The NASA crawlers?
Yeah, the big...
Oh, yeah, the things that move the big rockets.
Yeah.
Apollo 13 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What was the rockets? What were they called? What were they called? The ones that fired the Apollo series?
Saturn V's.
Yeah, Saturn V's. They were massive.
The moon missions, yeah.
They were massive. Of course, the ones that fired the Challenger into the sky wasn't too small either.
No.
Okay,
but same crawlers.
Same crawlers, exactly. The same crawlers, the same NASA crawlers. And was anybody in your family involved with that business, or what did your dad do for a living?
Yeah, well, my grandfather worked at the shovel. We call it the shovel, Marion Power Shovel. My dad was he was in the Air Force, and he was an aircraft machinist. And when he got out of the Air Force, he tried his hand at various machining jobs, but all the factories were closing at that point in time in history.
Right.
And he was always an artist. painter, drawer, that kind of thing. And so when I was about 3 years old, he enrolled into art college. And, he couldn't keep a factory job, so he went to college when I was about 3 or 4. And as a result of that, he sold that Lionel train set. And then, he became an illustrator and graphic artist and painter.
Well, that's cool.
And then he owned and operated a graphic design and sign company for, 25 years or whatever. Now he's retired and he lives in an RV out west.
No, that's cool. But you stayed in Marion. Did you go to school for any of this, like for sound and all that stuff?
No, it was, I learned it the old-fashioned way, just getting in and doing it and mentoring under people that are smarter than you, and then.
Right. Okay. So before we get on to your sound systems for model railroading, we're going to have to ask you at least one question. So how do you end up with a guy like Barry Manilow? Were you just like he called you up one day, or how's that work?
Basically, you just you do enough work on a smaller level, and then the smaller levels become bigger levels, and then bigger and bigger. It just grows as you prove yourself as a professional.
Right.
And then I got connected with this company that provides all the sound equipment for Barry, and I went out and did a couple of weeks with them, basically just managing their sound system.
Right.
And then I went back out with the Mythbusters, and then I flew home, and they were like, we need you to fly back out. Manilow needs a sound tech again. So I flew out, landed, got off the plane, and they said, do you know how to mix monitors? And I said, yeah. And they're like, okay, our monitor guy got hurt, so, just fill in for him. Well, me filling in for him ended up being a permanent position,
Yeah.
Well, it's just random stuff, man. I don't know.
No, but you got to be good at it, and that's what happens when you're good at something. I know we have another fella that's a close friend of ours, Adam Pinellas, and he's like that too. He just can seem to do anything. It's actually kind of annoying, but in the end, we like Adam, so we put up with it. But he's one of those guys too. He understands stuff and makes it work and makes it happen, and that's sounds like you're kind of the same kind of guy. So how did you get into? So then you're a model railroader, and when you got into your 20s, did you build a layout, or are you just like what are you doing in model railroading? Do you have a layout, or?
Right now, all that I have is a 5 foot long switching layout that has like a 4 foot hidden staging, like fiddle yard off of one end.
Right.
And that was, you asked a lot of questions there. I'm not quite sure where to drop in.
All right. Well, I can ask some one at a time if you want.
Okay, I'll ask a question. Looking at your website, you have a HO layout and an N-scale layout. Let's start with the HO layout.
Is this the private, the JT's Model Merriment website?
Yes, it is.
That's a ridiculous name.
That's a great name. I love it.
Where are you seeing it? I see Marion Model Railroad Club. I see JT. Where'd you find that? Where'd you find that one, Bruce?
I will send you the link, my friend.
Where'd you find it?
Off of one of his Facebook page or his.
Oh, okay. Because I'm looking at his website, scalesoundsystems.com.
Yeah, if you go to the About tab on that Scale Sound Systems page, there's a link to my personal modeling page, which doesn't get as much activity as it should, but there's some stuff on there.
Yeah, and then there's some other site that Bruce is looking at.
Well, that should be the one.
That's one I just sent you the link to.
Okay. And what is it? But what you said the name? Oh, okay. JT Burke's Model Train Merriment. Ah, okay. I got it now. I'm picking up on it now. Boy, if we were organized, if we were professional, can you imagine how good this would sound?
Well, if we had a good sound guy, we'd be laughing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If we had a good sound guy. All right. So which layout do you have now? The HO scale one?
Yeah, I've got both. The N scale is really just a kind of a test bed for my. I I wanted to dabble in N scale, and what I mean by dabble in N scale, I bought a locomotive and a dozen cars, and now I've got 4 dozen locomotives and a few hundred cars.
it just
Um,
it just happens that way.
and
Yeah.
it got to the point where I thought, I haven't even built anything in N scale. I need to see if I even like running these freaking trains. And so yeah, I built this shelf and just very temporarily tacked down some track and just to see, do I like switching within scale? Do I like, can I see it to my satisfaction? What does the sound like? That kind of thing. It's really just a big test bed for that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I
There's a
I
track.
do a lot.
There's a track plan on your website. Does that track plan actually exist, or is that just
Yeah, that's how it is right now. But it's
okay?
not actually scenic or glued down or anything. It's just I'm fiddle farting around with it to see what I like. I'm exploring different types of couplers, like the microtrain, the scale couplers the microtrains makes, and different wheel sets and different. I'm just digging into it and seeing. I have hand laid some Code 40 turnouts to see if I'm comfortable with it.
Right. And what do you think you prefer right now, N scale or HO scale?
Well, I definitely prefer HO from a just a kind of an overall general modeling point. But if I decide to build a larger layout, I feel like N scale would give me the most bang for my buck.
Okay. All right. So you're dabbling in it and you're trying to decide.
Yeah, but I mean, I love it. I love HO because I like doing freight car modeling and that kind of stuff. So
So,
that
so let me ask you this question because I don't know if you can answer it,
yeah.
but I'll ask it anyways. And if you can't answer it, you'll be deducted. There'll be marks deducted off
Okay,
off your score.
got it.
Okay, younger guys under 40 seem modeling freight cars seems to be very prevalent nowadays. And do we know why that is? Am I making sense, Bruce?
Uh,
Not really.
no. Yeah, or it could be because there's not a lot of passenger equipment out there anymore, so they concentrate on the freight cars.
No, but I mean, doesn't it seem to you that a lot of the younger people are just interested, like they're happy to be modeling freight cars, like weathering cars, and
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, as opposed to, when you and I started in the hobby, it was more the whole layout thing was a bigger deal.
Yeah.
But now actual individual cars seems to be a big deal. So, did that make sense to you, JT?
It does, and I think there's probably numerous reasons for that. One of them, if you were to research and study generational differences, the earlier generations buying and owning a home was a high on the priority list, and with the younger crowd, they actually would prefer to rent and not statistically. They prefer renting and not owning a home. So I feel like a lot of the younger modelers probably don't have the space that
Right.
the older modelers have always had. That might be part of it. I never looked at it from that perspective.
Yeah, like what draws you to, like I'm looking here and your locomotives are highly detailed. And so you like the modeling aspect of just trying to make a super realistic looking, like your Chessie 1524 here is like, it's an awesome model.
Well, that right there, there's actually a little bit of a story. That's a whole article that I have on that website. Chessie system is kind of my railroad. That's what I really vividly remember growing up, and I really liked the Athearn Genesis. The GP15 was always my favorite little locomotive, and when Genesis came out with them, I thought those are fantastic, but I don't want to pay that much for them. And so I found a really great deal on the Walthers train line GP15s, and I just kind of just detailed them up and weathered them myself and did the sound and everything, and kind of just a budget version. Now I ended up I ended up buying a pair of Genesis G15s, but my point behind those was just to try to economically, kind of get a DIY sort of Jeep 15.
Yeah.
It looks great. Absolutely great.
Yeah. So you can find this if you go to JT's website, the Scale Sound Systems website, and then go to the About page. There'll be a link to his model railroading page, and in there you'll see a link to his locomotives. That's what we're talking about, and you can see there's a whole little article there about what he did to it. Very cool article too.
Yes.
Excellent photography, very well laid out. It's really, really cool.
Thank you.
Okay, so all right, so you like detailing up the cars. You like chassis system is your favorite railroad. So somewhere along the way, you decided to improve sound. Is that where we're at?
Yeah. Basically, when I really did not like sound equipped locomotives for years. It was just noise to me, and it was really around the time of Tsunami and Loke Sound. The early soundtrack. I'm not counting the early soundtracks, but when Tsunami actually came out and Loke Sound came out, I thought, well, we're getting somewhere now. And but I was still heavily touring during those years. And a few years ago, about 4 years ago now, I decided to sit down to see if I could make the speakers sound any better, and I went through really a couple of years of just constant testing and experimenting until I landed on something that I guess met my criteria. And I was doing sound installs for local clients here in my area, and they were just really impressed by the way they sounded, and they said, you need to go public with this. And
right.
And I thought, it's a niche thing and a niche hobby, and I thought this isn't really viable. And
right.
So I went ahead and made a website and put it up there. And one of my first customers, he was probably customer number 3 or 4, was Chris Palomares from Athearn.
Oh yeah.
And he just, I don't know if he saw a YouTube video or what, but he discovered it, and then he started telling people about it, and people started telling people about it, and it went from something where I thought, well, this might make $100 a month in play money, and it turned into something that is almost a full-time job now.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And that's something. So it's almost a full-time job just doing sound installs.
Well, speaker sales and sound installs, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so you've used all of your sound knowledge when you've been out on the road with Barry Manilow and John Mellencamp and all that, and you've developed. Well, no, but it's an interesting story. And this is audio. There's no pictures. You'll find out later there are no pictures with audio podcasts. And so you've gone out and being with all these people and your years of knowledge, you've managed to develop a really cool sound system.
Yeah, basically, when somebody in my position in professional audio, we work with the professional speaker manufacturers a lot, whether it's just giving them feedback or talking about design, criteria or goals or whatever. And so I've really learned a lot about the electroacoustics and the mechanics of speaker system design over the years, decades at this point in time. And I just started, how can I adapt some of that at least to these little trains?
Right. And so were you going to say something, Bruce?
I would say, looking at the paper he wrote on it, he's done more than kind of dabble in it. It's an amazing research you've done on it.
I did, yeah. I wrote a technical paper on model train sound design.
Where do we see that?
That is also on the About Me, the About tab on Scale Sound Systems. You can download It's like an 18-page white paper.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to find it. About policies, guides, frequently asked questions. Where am I looking?
Look at about.
About
A boot.
And I scroll down. Marion Model Railroad Club, JT Model Trains site. Okay, I bite. Where is it? Anybody?
Check Messenger.
Well, how come I can't find it on the website?
Which website are you on? Scale Sounds?
Yeah, scalesoundsystems.com.
.com. Look under design.
Oh, design. I said about. Yeah,
there you go. See, we got to walk people through it, Bruce, because other people will want
That's
to.
But of course, when this hits the air finding, we will have some links up on our Facebook page and our website.
I wouldn't count on that.
I'm going to make some notes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you want to put up the links, that's great.
Yes.
But in lieu of that, if everybody goes to scalesoundsystems.com and clicks on the design tab, then they'll see what we're talking about. So then you've got a whole thing. You've written a whole thing here, like holy macro. So, all right. So how do I? So I see you said, Bruce, there was a whole 18-page thing. I don't see 18 pages.
Click down, scroll down near the bottom of the first bit.
Oh, you can download the paper. You can download the paper here.
Yes, click on the here and you download the paper.
Concepts and considerations in speaker system design for small-scale model trains, a technical white paper. Holy mackerel, written in August of 2018. Holy mackerel. For the
that was basically, I mean, I kept getting so many questions from people, and I thought, good heavens, I can't keep answering the same answers over and over again, so I just wrote a paper.
So, okay, let me ask you this. You seem very forthcoming with the knowledge that you have. Is that, like, you don't have a problem sharing your knowledge? Like, it's not a secret?
Well, I mean, part of it, you know, I don't divulge any extreme specifics about what I do.
Okay.
So, you know, I discuss how everything has an impact on the sound. And I discuss what those variables are, but I don't discuss the exact combinations of those variables that I use.
Okay. Yeah.
And then secondly, the driver that I use, I'm the only one that has it. So another manufacturer, even if they copied my enclosure, it wouldn't sound the same because they don't have the actual driver. Well, it's what people would call a speaker, but it's a transducer or a driver. They don't have. I'm the only one that has that. So.
so you built these yourselves, or are you taking something and using it?
Well, I took after all of the testing that I did, and finding the one that performed really well. It was a component that was being discontinued, and I bought the manufacturer's inventory out.
Perfect.
So do you have like a lifetime supply?
No, good heavens. I actually ran out in December. I thought I had what was a couple of years of inventory, and it turned out it was only about 6 months of inventory. I ran out, and I literally scoured the earth to try and find, you know, another batch of these. And I have located another batch, and so April. Right now, my speaker production is on hold, but April 1st, everything will go live again.
Okay, because you'll be able to make your own speakers again because you'll have this whatever it is you need.
Yeah, and I am to circumvent running out again. I'm working with a component manufacturer on designing an entirely new driver that is geared specifically for model train sound. And so that's in development, but it'll be months before it comes to market, you know, from, you know, testing all of the prototypes and all that.
And I assume then there's different drivers for HO and N scale just because of the size factor.
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay, just because I'm like the dumbest guy in the room, is the driver an actual physical thing or is that a computer thing?
Oh no, it's a physical thing. It's what people would call a speaker. So I kind of talk about that in the white paper. People, the raw, the speaker, they call the speaker, and then the enclosure they call the baffle. Well, I understand that that's layperson's terms, but technically speaking, the speaker is a transducer or a driver, and the baffle is only one part of the whole enclosure. So there's just some, words that have gone around that, maybe are misinterpreted or whatever. And I speak technically correct because I do this for a living, and it's my nature to say the right term.
Yeah, and of course you go to the other extreme from N-Skill up to what audiophiles are using for home systems and what you're using, bands are using for shows and stuff like that.
Right.
So okay, and I found a word here that I understand. It says material type changes the sound, styrene, ABS, PLA, BETG. All of them exhibit slightly different tonal characteristics. I will experiment with materials every now and then. Some of the recent wood filaments that use 20 to 40% wood fiber might be nifty.
So which word did you understand there? The nifty part?
Yeah, nifty. But
and styrene as well, I'm saying.
And he goes on to say, but nifty, while novel, could be simply be awful.
Yeah, you'll never know until tune in later to find out what nifty is.
Yeah.
I tend to be a little corny. I don't.
See, you know what this means, though? We'll have to interview him again in about a year to find out what actually happened to nifty.
Yeah, exactly. So now you're in the process of actually building. You're working with a manufacturer to actually build your own individual driver / speaker.
Right. Yeah. To my specific, design requirements, what I'm looking for specifically, and hopefully it'll.
Because you're building yourself a future. Even locomotives that come with sound, what you're building is superior to that.
Well, that's the point. Yeah, and my goal, of course, would be, I would like to see, these products possibly coming, in the premium models from the factory.
Right.
But there's been discussion about it, but I don't have the. I simply do not have the quantities to facilitate that right now. I just don't, that's why I'm working on a completely new design.
Yeah, something that you can rely on because it's your design and you can get it manufactured.
Right.
That's cool.
Now, do you ever foresee that you might hook up with one of the manufacturers to have your product distributed more widely, or no?
Yeah, well, yeah, again, that has been... I have been approached, being very vague here, I've been approached by a couple people in the industry, but like I said, I don't have the supply,
right,
to at this point in time. So, and really, what I'm working on, the new driver is going to be superior in all respects to what I currently have anyway. So it's going to have an even broader appeal. So,
okay. Well, let me ask you this question. So you don't want to, what's the word, Bruce? He doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to give away trade secrets.
Well, no, doesn't want to give away trade, but he doesn't want to talk about the manufacturers he's speaking to because it's none of our business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like all the other manufacturers tell us when we ask them questions.
No. What's the word? He doesn't want to, not expose. There's a word, he doesn't want to, I don't know, flatulate. I don't know. There's a word I'm trying to think of. Somebody's screaming right now. Patrick Lavallee.
Reveal. Doesn't want to reveal.
Reveal. Okay. Well, yeah, he doesn't want to reveal the manufacturers he's speaking to because he's still in early stages.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Exactly.
It wouldn't be right to.
No, exactly, because it'll be exciting if someday one of the major locomotive manufacturers picks up your speaker and installs it exclusively in their locomotives. It'll be pretty exciting for you to have that occur.
Right. And the great thing, what I'm really looking forward to in that situation is that all of the modelers out there who don't realize how big of a difference it makes, they will now get to experience it because it came that way.
Yeah.
And when they compare it to everything else in their fleet, they're going to be like, "Oh, I didn't realize."
Yeah.
Even if they watch my YouTube videos, a lot of the people are watching my YouTube videos on their cell phones or their tablets or their laptops. And, you can't expect to hear a speaker that sounds better than a cell phone speaker when you're listening to the comparison on a cell phone speaker.
Yeah.
It's like watching color TV commercials on your color TV.
Yeah. Exactly. That makes quite a bit of sense. That's scary that I understand what he's saying. Man, this is okay. So I have a question, Bruce. I think this question might be my favorite time I've ever asked this question. Okay, so you started out thinking you'd make a couple of bucks doing a few installs, and you have this speaker. Is the hobby a lot bigger than you thought it was?
Boy. I can't say that because honestly, I've got a small customer base right now that is generating, like I said, enough business for me to
keep you busy.
It's a lot of business, and so people, I've been approached about advertising and that kind of thing, and I simply tell them, look, I can't advertise because I'm already kind of at maximum. I'm running on all cylinders here, and so I don't really know how big the hobby is per se. I will say that because I've never done any advertising, the power of word of mouth and social media has proven itself to me in this endeavor, and kind of going the opposite of what you said is I kind of realized how small the model manufacturing community is, and that's what's been really enjoyable to me is getting to know the manufacturers
right
in our hobby and how everybody knows everybody. And for the most part, there isn't any animosity, amongst competitors. Everyone, for the most part, happily coexist manufacturing model train products, and it's really cool.
Yeah. You must have been talking to different manufacturers than I have been, but
I'll ask a somewhat related question. Well, yes or no? The people you are doing this for now, are they looking at? I guess are they guys with smaller layouts who want to get into the whole detail thing, or they're looking at equipping large fleets, or somewhere in between?
Oh, it's both. I've got guys who they own 3 locomotives on their whole layout. And I have customers whose apparent speaker budget is greater than most model railroaders' yearly budget. So, I've got some customers that are not afraid to drop the bucks on buying a lot of my speakers to outfit their entire basement layout. So, it's gone both ways.
And how much do you sell the speakers individually so people can install them on their own?
Oh, yes. That's the website, the online store. I have about right around 150 speaker sizes right now.
Holy mackerel!
And most of them are drop-in fits. So if you buy an Athearn Genesis Jeep 7,
right,
and you pop the shell off and you see the factory speaker is mounted there and it's with 2 screws, and it's got a little hole for the truck wires to come up through. You get on my website and you look up the Athearn GP7 speaker that I sell, and it's the same dimension. It has the same mounting screws and the same little hole for the truck wires. You literally take the 2 screws out, pop the stock speaker out, pop my speaker in, put the 2 screws back in, and you're done.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That's why I've got so many sizes, is because I've been, over time, designing exact factory replacement fit speaker systems.
So this okay, it's out of stock right now because you're waiting to get more stuff in. But the Athearn Genesis G7 drop-in speaker, as you speak of, is only $16.
Yeah, which unfortunately the price is going to go to $17 because that last batch that I bought, they really gouged me on the price. They knew they knew they had me.
Okay. All right, Bruce.
Yeah, here's my thing. It's 16 and change or 70. Ooh, shut up, take my money. Here's a 20, keep the change,
Yeah, the prices are going astronomically out of control from $16.
Your business is doomed, pal.
Yeah. This is crazy. The speaker's going from $16, which already is unreasonably expensive, to an unbelievably high price of $17. because somebody at the other end is gouging him. I'm actually left speechless on that.
I really strive to really represent a high value, so it is a premium product. That's the thing, is you've got a lot of guys on the interweb, and they're literally equipping their entire fleet with $1 cell phone speakers. And I don't have anything against that. I'm not knocking that whatsoever. Everyone has their preference and what they deem as good. So, I pass no judgment whatsoever toward anybody who prefers whatever kind of speaker they like to use. So, but in their eyes, my speaker is crazy expensive.
Yeah, but that's in anything you do, you're going to find people that are going to try to do it as cheaply as possible. I mean, for a speaker that's as of high quality as you're speaking, I don't think $29 is unreasonable to expect to pay for something that's that easy to install and will improve the sound that much. I don't. It's not the $17 is not expensive.
One manufacturer did tell me that I needed to raise my prices. He was adamant that I was underselling the whole thing, but I was real comfortable writing that, again, I like really giving somebody bang for their buck, and I want it to be accessible to people. I don't want it to be, a thing only for the elite.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't think $29 would be out of line.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, for speakers and a decoder, you're talking $100 or so, and that seems to me like a bargain.
Yeah, like your prices seem very, very, very fair. So
and I do, I offer free shipping on any decoder order. So if somebody does want to get on there and order a decoder and a speaker, it ships for free.
Holy mackerel! Of course, we'll have to be charging you for doing this advertising. You'll have to. We can't broadcast this podcast. Hey, I'm a poet and don't know it. We can't broadcast this podcast.
Well, then I'm going to send you about 100 speakers that you can assemble and test for me.
Yeah, there you go. This is very cool. All right, so
it is very cool.
It is very cool. So what a rectify? Okay, so let's go through these. So Rectify series speakers. What is the Rectify? You've got 3 sets of different speakers. You got Rectify series speakers, Coval series speakers. Is that how you say it?
Coeval.
Coeval, of course, but it's not Burke, but it's Coeval.
It's a word in the dictionary. Look it up.
So you got Rectify series, Coeval series, and Steam series. So what are What are the differences between the three?
So the Rectify series, that's what I originally started with. And that is a single driver system. So there's only one transducer in there.
Now, can you use words that I can understand?
There's only one speaker.
Attaboy.
There's only one speaker attached to the baffle.
There you go.
that's I kind of cringe saying it that way. But so it's a single speaker system, and they're 8 ohms, they're 1 watt, and that's what I started with. That's what got the whole ball rolling.
Right.
Now the issue with and they sound great. It's not like you're getting, you're getting the full package there. But the issue with that 1 watt rating is that for people who like it really loud,
right,
and especially with like a Tsunami 2 that has a very robust power amp, the speaker is going to distort if you just crank it all the way up.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, I need to do a higher power speaker. So that's when I developed the Coeval series. And it's a 2-speaker system, but it looks like a 1-speaker system because the other speaker is inside the enclosure.
Okay.
So that'd be for the guys who you hear at train shows from 40 feet away and it's deafening.
Yes, except that my speakers don't have that like piercing ice pick to the forehead sound.
I hate that piercing ice pick to the forehead sound.
Yeah, it's painful. and yet, we've all experienced and know exactly what he's talking about.
So, the Coeval's a 2-speaker system, and so they're wired for 4 or 16 ohms, and it basically it handles 2 watts of power with the added benefit of a little bit extra low frequency oomph.
Now, how many oomphs does each speaker produce?
Well, the Coevals have a 3 decibel increase over Rectify at 100 hertz.
Okay, so what'd you say? 3 what?
A 3 dB increase at 100 hertz.
Okay, so if you have a 3 dB increase, how many oomphs is that?
3 dB is generally recognized as a noticeable difference among lay people.
Okay, so we'll say seven oomphs.
Yeah, I don't. We can discuss the logarithmic scales of sound pressure levels and human hearing and that kind of thing, but it's ridiculous. So
yeah.
3 dB is generally accepted, and that's not an arbitrary number that I came up with. That's the design.
All right.
The design that I used is pulled from a pro audio concept, and in theory, it suggests a 3 dB increase in low frequency efficiency. And when I did my tests and measurements, the theory on paper proved accurate in application. So,
Bruce, would this be a true statement? I have a lot of respect for your knowledge about the engineering that you do and your job.
Okay.
Well, no, is that a true statement? Do you feel like I have respect for what you do?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. How did this guy learn all this stuff without going to school?
Because he said he hung around a lot of smart people.
Yeah, but I hang around you, and I don't understand half of what you're saying. So that doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay.
The music and audio industry are kind of odd birds in the professional world because there are schools out there that teach. Is somebody working in a restaurant? What the?
Bruce is making a sandwich.
There are schools that will teach basic, audio concepts, but the vast majority of your speaker designers and over the years, over the decades, starting, even in the 70s when concert sound started becoming a big thing, they were a lot of DIY guys. They were people that had they may have had some physics courses in college. They may have had, but there is no college course for designing a sound system. It doesn't exist.
Right. Okay. All right.
So, and it never has. So you basically, I was the geeky kid in high school that was reading, white papers from, Olson and Howes, all the great acousticians and designers in the, in the 40s up into the 70s, and just reading, what they were doing, their research, and I was like I said, I'm a geek. So
No, well, I think a lot of us model railroaders are geeks in some way or another. I mean, I'm a podcast geek now, so there you go. So, and then of course you have the steam series, which is strictly for steam locomotives.
Well, people were, they were wanting round enclosures that would fit in boilers and smoke boxes.
Right.
So I did another round of testing and measurements and that kind of thing, and I came up with a system for those guys. And I'm still playing around with the Steam series, but that's brand new. That hasn't even actually been officially released yet.
Okay. And do you have customers all over the world?
I do. Yeah, I've sent. I've got at least half a dozen customers in Australia.
Oh yeah.
A lot of support from those guys. I've got a lot of customers in Canada.
Right.
And I've sent speakers to Austria, just other I guess random parts of the world. But the bread and butter is the U.S., Canada, and Australia. Those three generate the majority of my business.
Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, it's it must be exciting when somebody sends you an order from like Austria or something like that.
Yeah, and I've gotten to learn about say for instance Aucision in Australia. I had never heard of Aucision, but Aucision is kind of like the Athearn of Australia.
Yeah.
And I never knew they existed. And here I go to the website and I go, holy cow, they've got this huge range of HO scale locomotives that are based on Australian prototypes. And so.
Yeah. And I'm convinced that the guys that came up with the name Aucision, they were sitting in a bar and they'd had a few wobbly pops and they're trying to come up with a name. And the one guy goes, well, it could be like Australian something. And the other guy goes, yeah, and it's like precision something. And then they go, it's like Aucision. Yeah,
that would be the obvious thing to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I went a long ways for that one. I had to go all the way back to the warning track.
Yeah, you're on the warning track in that one to bring that
one. Okay, so, and then you look on your website. Which decoders do you prefer? Because you're selling TCS decoders, and so is that what the one you prefer is TCS?
That's a loaded question because if I answer wrong, the other two are going to be mad at me.
So all three are good. All three of the major company.
Yes, I'm not set up as an ESU dealer yet. I have submitted the application. Honestly, a long time ago, and I need to follow up with that. I've spoken to Matt numerous times as a customer. He's been amazing with customer support and service for my personal, needs.
Right.
So I very much would like to take them on as a dealer, but it just hasn't gone anywhere yet. Soundtracks and TCS I'm already established with. They all make really excellent products, and you can just get stunning results with whatever your preference is. They all operate differently. That's the thing. So it's not just a sound preference. It could also come down to, braking features or or how the programming is done. It can what you're comfortable with as a user. So it's not just the sound, that steers somebody's decision with a decoder. But some people are adamant about soundtracks or TCS because they're made in the USA, whereas ESU is a German company.
Right.
Some people love the German engineering, and to them ESU is kind of like the BMW, and there's everyone has reasons for what and a lot of people don't even know why they like a certain brand. It's just what they've always used.
Yeah, so basically you want to offer different, ideally you'd have 3 different quality lines of decoders that you could, your customers could choose whichever one they want, or they ask you for recommendation, you ask them a few questions and give them what they would suit their needs.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. I field a lot of questions about, well, what do you think I should go with? And based on what they tell me, I can, say, well, this is probably what you might be interested in, but they don't really know until they try it themselves. So.
So I still think the hobby's way bigger than you think it is because you got all this business all of a sudden. LED kits. What's the dealio with that? Are you? I see you do install. We'll go back. We'll get to your installs in a minute, but you have like LED kits and everything, eh?
Yeah. So doing installation jobs for people. Everybody that was sending me the older, Cato models, or I've done a lot of brass, Division Point and Overland brass diesels, and of course the Athearn, except for the very most recent few models, but the Athearn stuff, all this stuff that came with light bulbs.
Yeah. And
everybody would want me to, put LEDs in them, and I thought, you've got the fiber, you flare at the end with the flame, and people have stuck 0402 resistor LEDs individually in the holes and just put little lenses over there and all these things, and I thought this is crazy and it's time consuming, and I need to develop something for me that would be fast and easy and consistent to convert bulb diesel locomotives to LED headlights.
Right.
So I
came up with these kits.
Yeah, these LED conversion kits, and they're these little plastic crystal clear lenses that just pop right in. And you can you do assemble them, but it only takes a few minutes. I'll be releasing a video that demonstrates how simple it is to assemble.
So you developed these little pop-in LED lights then?
Right. I developed them. I make them right here, and I was using them for myself, and I thought, well, I'm going to stick them out on the website and see if anybody else likes them. And I guess not surprisingly, Chris Palomares was the very first person that ordered them.
Right.
And I had no idea what he felt about them until we were on him and Paul Gillette, their podcast, and he said that he really liked him.
Hang on a minute. There's other podcasts?
I mean, I don't have an answer for that. My nature is to be a little bit of a smart aleck, but I don't want to offend anybody.
You can be.
Although Paul Gillette, he is a witty little son of a gun, and so he probably would have just laughed at anything I would have said.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you can be a smart aleck with us. It fits in perfect. We like being happy here. Happy's good.
Yeah. I love Paul. Paul's been
looking at the kits that are on your website. Are they like little surface mount LEDs in the back part, and then the tubes extend out into the headlight opening?
Yeah, so it's a one-piece. The lens is a one-piece deal that it's for twin sealed beam headlights, and you just glue that to the end of a 1206 LED, and then you just slip it into the into the holes of the shell, and wire it into the decoder, and away you go.
So how do you make these clear? How do you make clear plastic at there? Like, did you develop some sort of a mold or something that you're pouring clear plastic into or something?
Yeah, I did. I really did go around and around with that and how to most effectively do it. But I use resin printing for that.
Resin printing. Any idea what that is, Bruce? Bruce is on mute.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, Bruce is on mute.
Yes, I am. There's a lot of noise around me right now.
I'm on mute. I'm making you that T-shirt for the AML picnic.
I'm looking forward to that. That's a beauty.
I'm on mute. What color do you think best suits you for a T-shirt, Bruce?
He's wearing orange.
I would have to say orange would be good.
Are you
like
like
the one more year ones. They were that color orange or
vermilion. We call it vermilion, Bruce.
Vermilion's more of a red color.
I'm a Chelsea guy, so
yeah. Or yellow or something like that. Nice UP yellow or something like that.
What about green? Are you partial to green at all?
I'll be partial whatever you want to give me. You make it, I'll wear it.
I'm on mute.
It should probably be red if it's I'm on mute.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe like a dusty rose color or something like that.
Is what you could do. You could have like a picture of a micro circle and slash through it, right?
Yeah, I could, but I think I prefer I'm on mute because that's what you always say. Yes. I'm on mute. The problem with that is that T-shirt will be popular. Then I'll have to make other T-shirts to sell to other people, and it's like all I wanted to do is just give you a couple of T-shirts.
Well, then it'll be like an exclusive, and I can sell them for stupid sums on eBay.
Yeah, there you go.
Think about all the people who do not want to interact with society, and they are in public. They would love that shirt.
Yeah, I know. I'm on mute.
There you go. Yes, I'm on mute.
So I see here. Okay, so here's where I'm stuck. This is where I get stuck. So I'm looking at your installation page now, and you can get headlight LED conversion for $20 a pair, and it includes the LED kit.
Yeah.
All right. So, but you can buy the LED kit for $10.
Right.
So are you saying that you'll install the LED kit for $10? Like for $20, you'll get the LED kit installed?
Not if that's all that it is. But if I'm doing a sound install for somebody, then I have been charging $20 to do to install the conversion kit for them. I'm struggling a bit with sound installs right now as far as where I am because it's too much for me. I've had so many people from all over the country sending me locomotives to do work on, and it's so time consuming. And so I'm kind of, I'm writing that fine line of like, well, what can you justify charging for a sound and lighting install? What are people willing to pay? But it's still worth my time. And in the end, it really isn't worth my time. You're basically working for minimum wage when you do a sound and lighting install for somebody, because not your basic decoder install, that doesn't take long. But when you get into a lot of lighting, when you're doing ditch lights and class lights and ground lights and beacons and that kind of stuff, it just really eats up a lot of time. And to charge what I should charge, nobody would pay for. So I think a lot of installers find themselves in that same situation. At least the installers I've talked to, they've all been like, yeah, it's not really a money maker.
Right.
The time that you have invested versus what the market will pay. So I'm kind of backing off on the install jobs, just because it just
slows you down.
Yeah, if I put 8 hours into a sound and lighting install, and I can only charge, whatever, 150 or 160 in labor or something like that, just for the labor. That's
Yeah, right. That's like you're making.
I can't work that cheap. So,
Well, you could if you didn't care about eating.
right. So, and it's never just 8 hours, because the thing is you do the install, and then there's inevitably something has gone awry. An LED isn't working right or whatever. So you go and troubleshoot it, and I like doing it. I like the results. But I was getting myself a little buried in the amount,
bogged down. Yeah.
the amount of work I was taking on.
Okay, so then let me ask you this question, just so I understand. So is the speaker thing then enough to give you almost a full-time living then, the speaker thing alone?
Well, I don't know that I can. I've never really tested it, because I still work professionally as an audio engineer.
Right.
I'm not going to give up the studio work and the concerts and that kind of thing, because I love that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it sounds like you really, really like that work.
Right. And so I've never really tested it, but I've always, like I said, I've sort of kept it. I've tried to rein the business in, because if it gets out of hand, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's on the verge of getting out of hand.
And there was a point last, I was kind of kicking around about doing a Black Friday, coupon or something. But then the speaker orders just kept coming in, and I thought, and instead of doing a Black Friday sale, I actually had to I had to put a temporary pause on speaker sales just to catch up. So, it was,
I'm telling you, you don't agree with me, but I'm telling you, this hobby's way bigger than anybody realizes. And now social media has connected us all together.
It's not that I don't agree with you. I just, I didn't, I didn't know how well received my little niche product was going to be. Let's put it that way.
I feel that you very strongly disagreed with me, and I was really put off at the moment.
Well, I wasn't fast enough to come up with something on that one. I really wanted it, and I just drew a blank.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's like this is like you're saying, like you're developing a speaker, people are buying it. You could be buried alive in installs if you wanted to, but it sounds like what's really exciting, the most exciting, is developing and selling these speakers.
Yeah, I do. I love hearing the feedback from people. I love it when customers make a video on their layout. I get tickled with that kind of stuff. It brings, some joy to me that I can offer something to somebody that they appreciate, and really it's just, I've gotten away entirely from my own modeling, and that's starting to have a toll on me. So
right.
I need to find a little bit of a balance with being able to do this without snuffing out my own life.
Well, and that's really, really important, because while it's fun to have developed a business, you don't want the business to suck the fun out of the hobby for you.
Right. And that's what, the installs were really starting to wear on me.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have to, you can pick a price, you can double your prices, and if people still want to pay that, well, then you feel like it's going to be worth your while, and, and some people will still want to pay it because they know that you do quality work.
It's true, they do. I do know of a couple of installers that they do a very premium job, and they charge a very premium price, a price that shocked me, but they, they can do it. So,
but it sounds like you're going to be the only installer that has its very own speaker system. Do you know of anybody else in the hobby that has developed their own speaker system?
I've heard of nobody in the hobby has developed a speaker system except the manufacturers.
I know, that's what I'm thinking too. There are some installers that
made their own enclosures and have, done some good work. Like, there are a few guys out there that have been pushing the limits of what they can get out of sound in locomotives that have been really striving for it. So I'm not the only one. I just did it on, I did it on a.
Yeah, you did it based on a whole lot of knowledge that you've developed over the years.
Well, and then made it into a product that is commercially available. And a lot of these installers are buying my speakers now, so it's not like, I have a number of installers that buy my speakers,
right,
for their clients' install jobs. So
here's a question I'm going to ask you, and I'm interested in this because we have a fella on our show, young Shane Mason. We call him Shane the Young Gun, and he's got an install business. And do you think eventually the install business will go away because most locomotives will come sound equipped, or is that a long, long time away from now?
Oh, I'd say it's a long time from now still. I mean, eventually it will, but when you think about the literally hundreds of thousands of Athearn and Atlas and Proto, Kato and the brass engines that never, they either didn't come with sound or the person did at the time of purchase bought the non-sound version.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, it's going to be going for
ever
in the foreseeable future anyway. Maybe a couple decades from now it'll be gone, but.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you're developing a better speaker. You're going down a whole different path because you've developed a speaker anyways that manufacturers are going to want to purchase off you. So you've got a whole different thing going altogether.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you think you can introduce me to John Mellencamp?
I don't think you want to be introduced to John Mellencamp, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay. How about Barry Manilow?
He's definitely nicer.
Okay.
Okay.
Who of all the people you've worked audio for, who would I like to be introduced to?
I'm trying to get a grasp on your. I'm feeling your sense of humor out here, but
I'm not trying to be funny.
Well, but you are though.
So what I'm trying to say is, who's the nicest person? Like, okay, for example, here's a story. Bruce, you enjoy my stories.
I love your stories.
Okay. One time I was sneaking into the Darlington Raceway, Darlington Speedway in Darlington, South Carolina, and successfully managed to get into the Darlington Speedway in Darlington, South Carolina. When it was not during a race weekend, it was just I was riding by my motorcycle, and I thought, hey, I'll try to sneak in. And I had previously snuck into Bristol. So anyways, I didn't, it wasn't as successful as Bristol, but I did manage to get into the Speedway, but I didn't get too far until security came. And so anyways, I started chatting those guys up because that's usually my best defense, is try to be as nice as possible. And blah, 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 blah. And I said, what kind of, the guys that come through the gate, who's the nicest driver? Or who's the driver I don't want to meet? And they told me the name of the guy. And then I said, well, who's the nicest guy? And they all said, Carl Edwards was the nicest driver that came through the gate. He was just just a nice guy, and he was pleasant to everybody and like that. So who would I want to meet that you've worked for in sound that's pleasant to everybody and is just a nice guy?
I'll tell you what, and this is kind of funny. Because he is known as being and just an all-out vulgar punk rocker. But he is the most gentle, loving, kind person that you could imagine meeting, and that's Iggy Pop.
Oh, cool. Oh,
he's just a sweetheart. The guy is just a little gem.
Oh, that's cool. See, that's an interesting. I'm telling you, Bruce, we should start a podcast.
So you got stage Iggy and off stage Iggy.
Yeah, you get stage Iggy and off stage. We should start a podcast.
Yeah.
And we could find out all kinds of cool.
I'm thinking JT should hook up with.
Who's that?
Rod Stewart, the model railroader.
Yeah, there you go. That's who you should be doing sound for, is Rod Stewart, who's a model railroader.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, I met Rod Stewart. He was nice to me.
Oh no, he's a nice enough guy. I just, it's just, you can only, I don't know. When you work, people would, go get me their autograph, blah, blah, blah. Well, professionally, you don't do that kind of thing.
Obviously.
And I just I have to wonder how if Rod and I work together, how our music sides and our model railroading sides how that would, I don't know. It feels strange to me.
Well, you and I are talking about model railroading, and I have a microphone.
There you go.
And a nice product.
Yeah, and I have a podcast, so I mean, we're talking about model railroading, so there you go. So, well, actually, I met Rod Stewart, and that's all he wanted to talk about was model railroading.
And I would probably just want to talk about songwriting with them.
Well, there you go. But that's cool, too. Nice people are nice people. That's the way it works. That's why we have Bruce here, because we need at least one nice person. All right, Bruce, I think we've gotten the... So, is there anything we didn't cover, JT, that you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean, I'm here at your pleasure, so...
Okay, do you have another 20 or 30 minutes to spare?
Sure.
Because we have another thing called the Kelly Questions, which are a series of... I'm assuming you've listened to all the podcasts and some of them twice.
or at least one.
Oh, yeah, or maybe not.
Yeah.
Perhapsly not.
Yes.
Well, I bet you'll listen to this one.
I can't. I've never listened to any of the podcasts that I've been on because I can't stand to hear myself.
Well, what a coinkydink. I couldn't stand to listen to you either. I'm kidding. Come on. You'll like this one because we have a good time here.
The Kelly Questions is hard-hitting investigative journalism.
Yeah, so just to give you a warning, the Kelly Questions are a series of hard-hitting questions developed by our very own Bruce Kelly in Medford, Oregon, who's the president of every model railroad club within 102 miles. And so if you'd like to stay, we'd like to ask you these questions.
You've got my curiosity
peaked.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Right. Now, Bruce, could you give out our email address?
Yes, our email address, because I should I be the mail boy or the email boy?
No, I think you're strictly the moderately agitated mail boy.
Okay, we'll stay with that. But anyhow, send us emails because we love to hear from you and get feedback. Our email address is modlerslife, modlers with one L, modlerslife@gmail.com.
And we have a website, and it's amodelerslife.com. And on there you can find pictures and stuff about the crew and all the shows that are on and other stuff. And Kaylee Zhang's excellent. We have Kaylee Zhang, who I asked to be on the show, but she's out touring around with Lou Pampano, who was a utility winger for the New York Islanders from 83 to 92, I believe. I think he had 201 goals and 315 assists in his career. Solid career.
Yeah, solid career.
Anyways, she's out touring around, but she does a clinic on our website all about how to install cell phone speakers. And she's excellent at that. So but I bet you she'll be interested in hearing about your sound and all that stuff. Because then she can start installing those kind of speakers if she so chooses. Your YouTube channel. Where do people go to hear your YouTube stuff?
It is youtube.com/ and this is a little strange because it was...
Why doesn't that surprise me?
It was my personal YouTube channel that I just created years and years ago and never did anything with. So it has nothing to do with Scale Sound Systems, but it's /MUSEPRO7.
MUSEPRO7?
P as in Paul.
P as in Paul, RO7?
Yeah, it's Muse Pro 7.
The number 7?
Yeah.
All right.
There's a link on the website to it.
Oh,
Or
is
if
there?
you just
I found it. I found it.
if you just get on YouTube and hit Scale Sound Systems, you'll
That'll help too.
a bunch of stuff shows up. So
All right, I'll try that. I'm going to try Scale Sound Systems just to see. Then you wouldn't have had to tell us all that other stuff. But you just did that. You're just doing that to be trouble. Scale Sound. Oh no! Look at that. I put the wrong thing in. See, Bruce will tell you I can't multitask. What did you say? I unitask.
You're a unitasker.
Yeah, I'm a unitasker. That describes me perfectly. I'm a unitasker. Oh, there it is. Scale Sound Systems review. Scale Sound Systems. Well, yeah, but there's a bunch of other stuff. See, there's other people that have all their. So you have to scroll down because that's important. So where do we find it on the main page?
On the About page.
On the About page.
I don't remember where I put.
Have you ever looked at your website?
we're talking the Model Train Merriment website, the About page. There's a link.
Okay, you go to you go to JT Burke's Model Trains, and then on the
there's a videos tab on the Scale Sound Systems website, I believe, and that should have the link on it.
All right, let's go back and let's see, because people need to know this stuff, you know.
Yeah. Right on scalesoundsystems.com, I'm pretty sure there's a button that says videos. And
I don't see it. Do you see it, Bruce?
I don't see it.
No, I don't see it.
But I'm looking.
Yeah, I'll go to About, and then and then you click on.
I'm just going to open my browser here.
Yeah, open your browser. Why don't you? I don't see
Yeah,
it.
you click on.
I don't see it. I don't see any easy way to get to the YouTube channel on your.
Well, I guess I got to rectify that then, don't I?
You got to rectify that.
Yes, sir.
By the time this podcast comes out, which will probably be August, 1st of August, end of July, by that time there will be a link on the Scale Sound Systems page to go to the YouTube channel.
Will it? Is it really going to be that long?
It really is, because we're very popular. And we stay ahead. We stay ahead. We stay very, very much ahead because we're very popular.
Now,
Okay.
post-production takes quite a bit of time.
Yeah, post-production is arduous.
You've got to edit out all of your nonsense.
No, that's...
So, again, he's never listened to a podcast.
Yeah, that was almost that sounded kind of insulting.
That was, you know.
No, as a matter of fact, I don't know. That's a problem. That's a problem with these young guys nowadays. Boy, when I was a boy, I was a lot smaller.
Yes.
Okay, we got one last job for you to do, JT, and what you have to, at the appropriate time, you have to say happy rails to you.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll know when the appropriate time is. So do you have it? Happy rails to you?
Happy rails to you. Are we still doing the questions or what?
Well,
Oh yeah, that's a different show.
Yes.
We're going to stop this show because people can only take so much in at a time.
Yes.
Oh.
And then we're going to do another show called The Kelly Questions with JT Burke.
Oh.
Wow, he'd be a good one to have on that one. Because do no good with the Kelly questions with Bob Smith.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think, did we ever do the Kelly Questions with Scott Thornton? I don't think Scott Thornton's ever actually been interviewed, has he? Did we interview him?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Well, we've interviewed
we had him live.
Yeah, we had him live, but I don't know if we've actually.
I don't know if we've done a podcast with him though. Yeah,
an actual interview with him. No.
No.
We'll have to look into the annals. You know what? We'll have to look in
the AML annals.
Yeah, we'll have to go into the files. Okay, JT, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Well, JT, as the sun slowly sets over the back 40 and we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say...
Happy rails to you.
Could you say it faster?
Happy rails to you.
Now can you say it a bit slower?
Happy rails.
Okay, I think we'll leave now.
Transportation for AML guests provided by Diamond Limousine. Diamond Limousine, where all of our vehicles are true diamonds in the rough.
It's another Lincoln Homer.